At the trade deadline, Jacob deGrom vetoed a trade that would send him to a contender because he thought the Rangers could win. But unfortunately, the Rangers can't even beat the Angels.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Paddock, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 13 seasons, including all the way as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. On today's show, if you're not already, you can follow on Twitter at Bryce Paddock and follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way we can help with the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Getting out of rhythm on my order because I am so sleep deprived from watching these terrible West Coast games where the Rangers could not even win 2 of the 4-game set. Jacob deGrom, who declared that this team was going to contend and make the postseason and was good enough to win as currently constructed, could not beat the worst team in baseball, which is no longer the worst team in baseball because you lost to them enough. We're talking about why Jacob deGrom has made his bed and he needs to lie in it, why Chris Young is also partially to blame for just letting one man decide the future of this organization, and why the offense also definitely deserves more than their scorn. Now, let's talk about last night. This was embarrassing. This was just straight up a travesty of a baseball game, a travesty of a series. There is no two bits about it. This game, this series, this team is booty cheeks. They are bad. This is a bad baseball team. They have definitively declared. They waited until after the deadline to declare that they were a bad baseball team. Actually, if you were listening at the trade deadline, you could tell, okay, this is not a good team. They were technically, I believe, maybe even in a postseason spot. Maybe they were holding that third wild card as the Rangers got to the trade deadline, or maybe they just jumped back into it after 2 winning series against a bad Giants team and a not good and selling Orioles team, already sold Orioles team. And then they head into this week of the schedule, a West Coast road trip, which is just always their bugaboo, against the 2 teams with the worst record in all of baseball. And you thought, okay, well, maybe this is a chance to prove yourself. This is maybe a chance to stack up some wins against some terrible baseball teams. And in regulation, in the first 9 innings of these 4 games, the Rangers scored a combined 5 runs, not counting those 3 runs in extra innings in the 10th on Monday, because it shouldn't have gotten there, and it did end up getting there. So you count those runs. You count those runs. It's 8 runs across 4 games, averaging 2 runs per game. They were shut out last night, and they were abysmal. The pitching staff also gave up 7 runs. Jacob deGrom, Mr. I'm going to make this team contenders by myself, was bad and also hurt. Wishing him a speedy recovery. Left this game after 2 innings with tricep tightness. Now, this is something that is just a worrisome thing. It's worrisome because it's not the same thing that Jacob deGrom has been pitching through for the last couple of weeks, or God knows how long he's actually been pitching through this. Maybe it's been really since the start of June, the start of July, that he has been pitching through this. But either way, it has been rough for deGrom, and for it to be an arm injury is a catastrophically terrifying thing. Granted, it's not an elbow thing yet, but all of that is in the same kinetic chain. The elbow, the forearm, the tricep, all of that is in that same kind of vein, and makes you worry, especially when a guy has already had 2 Tommy John surgeries. But this was not a good start. He is saying afterwards that he is hopeful that he will be able to make his next start. I am not hopeful that he is going to make his next start. I mean, when have the Rangers been, right about injuries immediately after they happen? Remember when Josh Young before he got placed on the IL, when he came out of that game with just a little bit of a calf thing on a Wednesday night against the White Sox, said, nope, I'll be fine. I'm probably not even going to miss a day. I was actually available the next day, but they just wanted to give me a half day. And then 2 days later, he's on the IL. And here we are 6 weeks later, and he is not even doing baseball activities. There is no kind of timeline for return for him. It has been the same case with basically every Rangers injury from, this one for the past like 3 years of, I don't know, maybe be optimistic. And then the worst case scenario usually comes to pass. And this was right after, the same week that Nathan Eovaldi got placed on the 15-day IL. He also said he was hopeful that he's going to be out for only 15 days, but who knows? We haven't hit 15 days. We don't have any kind of update on the timeline with all that, with Nathan Eovaldi's injury, a little bit of his, I believe also tricep. It's something in that same vein, another arm injury for Eovaldi. But still, this is what Jacob deGrom wanted. He wanted to be on this team. He wanted to be contending on this team. And so far, he has not done his job. He has been bad for the vast majority of this season. Those last 7 games, which includes the entirety of this month of August, it includes the entirety of his 3 starts that he made in the month of July, and it also includes 1 good start against Cleveland at the end of June, just for good measure. In those last 7 starts, he has gone 32 innings, which means he is averaging about 4.5 innings per start. He has allowed 18 earned runs in that span, 11 walks, and 41 strikeouts. It's nice to have those inflated strikeout numbers. That's great. But if you're not pitching deep into games, I don't really care. And especially if you're giving up runs to the tune of a 5.06 ERA in those 7 starts. 7 starts, 7 games for a position player, that's a week. That's not that big of a sample size. But for a starting pitcher, if you make a full season's worth of starts, which is really around 28, you can get it 32 because that's an actual full season start. If you're making a start every 5th day and you're not missing any time, it's 32 starts. So that's, somewhere between a quarter and a fifth of the season. And he has a 5 ERA. You want to run it back to the last 15 games, that's half a season, no matter how you slice it. He's got a 4.74 ERA in the last 15 games. The last 15 games, he has had a 4.74. That is bad. That is a bad starting pitcher. And for the entirety of this year, you knock out that first month. You put that first month back on there, a good first month of the season. It's down below 4 at a 3.95 ERA. That's where he's at for the season. For this whole season, he has got just barely a sub 4 ERA from your ace, from your guy who was supposed to be the face of this team, the face of this rotation, the reason the Rangers had any hope of contending whatsoever this year. And if they snuck into the postseason, the only hope they had whatsoever of them going anywhere was because you had Jacob deGrom and Nathan Eovaldi, and also now Mackenzie Gore, who is coming on, but it's a little bit too little too late for this season. It would have been nice for Mackenzie Gore to be this good early on in the season, but I'm not going to complain about Mackenzie Gore being great. This is a failure by Jacob deGrom. This start was a failure. The other big start against Houston, awful. 3 1/3 innings, 5 runs allowed. He walked 5 in 3 1/3 innings against your division rival the weekend before the trade deadline. He was awful. Just flat out awful against the White Sox. Basically the entire second half. He has also been just really bad. 5 starts in the second half, a 6.30 ERA, 9 walks in 20 innings is just very un-Jacob deGrom-like, and it hasn't even been because of the home runs. The home run ball has not been a problem in these starts. It's been the command and just these balls just finding space. He has struck out 11.3 batters per 9 in the second half, which is nice. That's good. Not really going to complain too much about that, but it's also been at the cost of his pitch count, of his efficiency, and of his being able to keep runs off the board. He's got a 6.30 ERA in 5 second half starts. That is not good enough. And also, by the way, he's averaging 4 innings per start in the second half. That's not what you're looking for. In this month of August, in these 3 starts, opposing batters have a 931 OPS against Jacob deGrom. That's bad. That is not good enough to be a contender. That is not good enough to be an ace. That is not good enough to say, yeah, I am staying here. I think this team is good enough to compete and win. And you know what? I have to give him credit for earning that no trade clause, but I also have to blame Chris Young for allowing one man to dictate what this team is going to do for the next 3 years. Talk about that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by Dose. Can we talk about one of the most underrated organs in your body? It's the liver. Your body's liver is your body's filter, processing everything you consume and performing more than 500 functions a day. It's involved in things like energy production, digestion, fat metabolism, and vitamin storage. So it's doing a lot of work behind the scenes. That's why giving your liver daily support can be an important part of building a healthy habit. Dose for Your Liver is a clinically backed liver health supplement designed to support daily liver function. Unlike other capsules and powders, Dose comes as a liquid 2-ounce daily shot that tastes like fresh squeezed orange juice. It's zero sugar, zero junk, zero calories, making it an easy addition into your daily routine. And balancing all these games, travel, work, late nights, all kinds of a packed schedule. That's why simple routines matter. Just Daily Dose is a quick 2-ounce shot, and it makes it so easy to just slip it into your daily routine. So if you're ready to give your liver support it deserves, head to dailydose.co/lockedonmlb or enter code LOCKEDONMLB to get 35% off your first subscription. Your body does so much for you, so let's do something for it. That's DOSEDAILY.co/LockedOnMLB for 35% off your first month subscription. This show is also brought to you by Stance, and it's time for the Everyday Icon, presented by Stance. As the official stock partner of Major League Baseball, Stance knows greatness isn't built in a single moment. It is earned over time through consistency, preparation, and showing up every single day. That's why each week we are recognizing one player whose performance embodies those same qualities. And you know what? I don't think any Rangers player deserves it this week, so I'm giving it to Wilber Arena, who looked fantastic last night. The Rangers offense being terrible helped him look fantastic last night, but 6 innings against the Rangers, 5 strikeouts, no runs earned or otherwise. He was just dominating this Rangers lineup. That's why Wilber Arena is your everyday icon. Check out the icon collection from Stance. Premium comfort, performance, durability, designed for whatever your day brings. Use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for 20% off your purchase. Stance, the official stock partner of Major League Baseball. Learn more at stance.com. Now, the Rangers sat on their hands at this trade deadline. They did basically nothing except for trading away Josh Smith and making a move for not just this year, but for multiple years, acquiring Chase Silseth and also Logan O'Hoppe from this terrible, terrible Angels squad for a prospect not really anywhere near their top 30. I don't mind the move. Even if you're not going to be a buyer, which I don't think the Rangers should have been, getting Chase Silseth for basically nothing, that alone is a huge, huge win. Logan O'Hoppe has been doing very well in AAA, and I think he will be called up on September 1st, because if the Rangers keep him in AAA till then, from my understanding, he will get another year of arbitration. So the Rangers will have him under team control through not just 2027, but also through 2028. That seems like it's absolutely worth it to keep him in the minor leagues for another 2 weeks, because what's another 2 weeks at the big level going to do? But there's been a lot of consternation, and I have lambasted Jacob deGrom for not waiving that no trade clause and going to Atlanta. It's not just because my fiance would have been very happy to have Jacob deGrom on her team, but also because the Rangers kind of took that as an option to just sit on their hands. And you know what? I do have to give credit to Jacob deGrom for being good enough. I am very pro player empowerment. And the reason you have a no trade clause in your contract is because you were so good that you got to dictate putting that in your contract. You are so good that you get to decide your own fate. Teams can't just trade you willy-nilly out from under you. And that is his right. That is his right to exercise that no trade clause. He earned that through his collective bargaining with the Rangers and saying, hey, I want this in my contract. I don't want to be just dealt and have no say of where I get dealt to. That is his right. It is also your right as a team to trade everybody else anyway, to not just let one player dictate your strategy at the deadline. And, Jacob deGrom, I respect it. I honestly would have respected it a little bit more if he said, you know what, I like where I'm at. I like Texas. Not that, I think this team can contend, because I don't know. I think maybe Jacob deGrom believed that. But watching this team up until the trade deadline, I was thinking, what makes you think this team is a contender? What makes you think a team employing the likes of Nicky Lopez's offense every day, that's a contending team? A team that got just waxed by this Angel squad. What makes you think that is a contending team? If he just said, I like being in Texas, this is where my family is, I'm settled, we've been here for a while, I don't want to just pick up a move, I would have respected that a little bit more. Also, in reality, even if you do get traded, there's like 6 weeks left in the season, plus a postseason. You could still have your family live here and just kind of visit for a few weeks. I mean, Clayton Kershaw lived in Dallas for the entirety of his career of like 18 plus years, and his family never moved out to LA while playing in LA. His family lived in Dallas for the entirety of that time. Also, you have a year left on your contract at this point. I don't think anybody that the Rangers traded him to would have picked up that option for 2028, but I could be wrong. And who knows about how much of the season is going to be played in 2027. So in reality, it really wasn't as much of an uproot and a change. But still, no matter what, Jacob deGrom has the right to say, I'm not going anywhere. I want to stay here, and I don't care what else you do. And Chris Young, you have to respect that because it is in the contract. But what you don't have to do is say, okay, well, we're not going to do anything. We're going to let you decide that this team is good enough to contend, and we're going to not provide you any resources to actually go out and get better and contend. We are just going to take our hands off the wheel. That is what you don't have to do. What you can do, you're not going to force it. You can't force a trade for Jacob deGrom, but you can say, okay, that's your decision. I respect it. But also, I think the best course for this franchise is to start the sell now. I don't think this team is good enough to win. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to give you the opportunity to go for it this year because we are not good enough. We have too many pieces that are free agents at the end of this year, like a Jock Peterson, like several of these relievers, like we've seen from Jacob Junis, like we've seen from Tyler Alexander, who has been really darn good this year. That I think that the best course of action for this franchise for the long term and their viability, as opposed to just sitting mired in mediocrity like we've been for the last 2.5 years. It'll be 3 years at this point. I think that this team needs to sell off pieces like maybe a Zeke Duran, whose value will never be higher than it was at this trade deadline. Guys like maybe even a Josh Young, if he was healthy at the trade deadline, I don't think his value would have ever been higher. Even Nathan Eovaldi. Nathan Eovaldi also has a full no trade clause. You can go ask him and say, hey, Nathan, would you waive your no trade clause? Because I'm going to start selling off pieces and you can be here with a whole bunch of scraps and probably not be good enough to contend. Or you can say, you know what, we're going to go elsewhere. We're going to go, take a trade to a team that's actually winning. I mean, you could sell off the piece without them, but I don't think Jacob deGrom would say, okay, yeah, no, I do want to still be here. Even if Zeke Duran's traded, even if Jacob Latz is traded, even if, all these other parts are traded away, but I still want to be here and try and force this team to contend what seems like against their will. That is not your role to just let one man dictate. The best thing for the health of this franchise was to sell at this deadline, and they missed that opportunity. And because of that, they're going to waste a good season for Jock Peterson just playing out the stretch. And maybe they do get into October. Maybe they do make the postseason. I don't think this team is making a run, though. I really don't. I think the timeline to get back to being contenders, because right now this team is not good as currently constructed. They are just a half game out of the playoffs. They are just 2 games back in the division, which is basically 3 games because they've lost the tiebreaker to Houston. And I don't think Houston's actually a good team, but still, if they get to the postseason, I don't think they're doing much of anything. And even if they were by some miracle able to get through the entire American League, which I don't think they could. I think the Yankees would pummel this team right now as currently constructed in the postseason. I think the Red Sox would destroy this team. I think the Rays would find some way to beat this Rangers squad. Heck, I think even the White Sox or the Twins or the Tigers or the Astros, I don't think it matters who the Rangers would play at this point. And their road to rebuild this team back down to the studs and be good, it's going to be a while. It's going to be probably 2028, 2029. And you worry that even some of these guys who are still either pre-arb or like just barely entering arbitration, if they're even going to be here for the next good Ranger squad. I mean, Corey Seager is probably not going to be a good contributing member of the next good Ranger squad, but I think he's going to be here in some capacity because he's under contract for another 5 years. But I mean, Wyatt Langford has got another 3 seasons here. Is this Ranger squad going to be good by 2029 again? Maybe they're just starting it that year, but that's Wyatt Langford's walk here. Same with Evan Carter. He's here through 2029. I'm not sure. Maybe it's 2020. Maybe it's 2030. I'm not sure about Evan Carter and his status, but Zeke Duran has got another 2 years under contract. Are the Rangers going to be contending in 2027 or in 2028? I don't know. I'm not sure that they will be. Same with Josh Young. He's also going to be a free agent after the 2028 season. He's got 2 more years here until he is a free agent. And so at this point, like it made the most sense for this team to contend. You look at some of the big parts coming down from the minor leagues. I mean, Gio Rojas, it's going to be a while. He has a lot of upside, and I'm really excited about Gio Rojas, but he is a high school drafted pitcher. Those guys take a while. They take quite some time. Brody Bamilla, who the Rangers drafted in the 3rd round, who has first-round talent, is unbelievably talented, but he's going to need to get full Tommy John surgery, and he has not gotten it yet. At this point, to my knowledge, the Rangers signed him on, I believe, the 22nd of July. So we're about 3 weeks or 4 weeks in, and he has not gotten Tommy John surgery. Normally I wouldn't be that worried, but because the Rangers just did this song and dance with one of their prospects, Alejandro Rosario, who said, I need Tommy John surgery in like March of 2024 and still, or 2025, and still has not gotten the surgery to this point, to my knowledge, after the Rangers traded him a year, not quite a year ago, but about 8 months ago to the Nationals. I think maybe he's gotten the surgery, but still, it was basically a year from the point where the Rangers traded him to the point where the Rangers said he needed Tommy John surgery. So we'll see. I mean, Bamilla is incredibly talented, but the point is he's going to miss the entirety of 2027 and probably, if not the entirety of 2028, then the vast majority of 2028 as well. So that's when he starts. And again, he is also a high school pitcher. So those guys take quite some time to get ready. Those are two of your best guys. And Sebastian Walcott, if there's a Major League Baseball season in 2027, I think he's knocking on the door at some point, if not out the gate, then early on in that season, if he's not already up at the big league level in 2026, which I think the Rangers might be wise to not start that clock before there is a shortened or maybe not Walcott and I think that's what should keep the Rangers from, calling up their top prospect, Sebastian Walcott, because of the question marks about the 2027 season, and also because he is just a DH. And at this point, I think Jock Peterson should just be your DH and just ride it out and see if you can get to the postseason, see if you can do something, because right now it is looking absolutely grim, and the offense is a big part of that. And if there's questions about Jacob deGrom and his health and his return, then what does it mean for this rotation? Well, they did get some good news last night that was not at the major league level. Talk about Jack Leiter, his first rehab, and why I think he might be being built back up to a starter, not a bullpen role, because of these two injuries this week. Talk about all that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by Gametime. There is nothing like watching a Rangers game. Do I mean that as a compliment or an insult? I don't know at this point, but it's even better when you get to watch it live, no matter if it's good, if it's bad. Just being at a live baseball game, no matter the quality of your team, is just such a delightful experience. But the only problem is that getting tickets can feel like a grind. Long queues, surprise fees, prizes jumping at checkout. That's why there's Gametime. The Gametime app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's simple to use, and the Gametime guarantee means you get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. And here's the best part: the fees are included in the price you see. So what you see is what you pay, period. And, the good part about your home team being not all that good is that the ticket prices, they can tend to go down. So if you want to catch a Rangers game with low stakes that has not been quite as fun as you would imagine, you still get a chance to get in on all the action. If you use the Gametime app, take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Now, this Rangers offense deserves a lot of scoring. This was an awful offensive performance. And I spent the last 2 episodes talking about how bad this offense has been, basically the entire second half, especially the last 2 weeks, and it was just diabolically bad last night. And the worst part is that the Angels defense was doing their best to give the Rangers some more chances, giving the Rangers some free base runners on some bad errors, and the Rangers said, no, I'm good. I don't need to do anything with that. I don't need to do anything with these chances. 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position, 8 runners left on base, and even Zeke Duran had an error for the first time in what feels like forever. Only 5 errors for him on the season, but still is not a great error by Zeke Duran. probably a ball that not every third baseman gets to, but still it was a play that I think Zeke Duran should have made. I think he thinks he should have made it, and it was bad. This offense was bad, but I do have to give a little bit of credit to this defense in Wyatt Langford, whose throws from the outfield as of late had been pretty terrible. This was a good throw. This is a good throw to nab Josh Lowe, brother of Nathaniel Lowe, out at the plate to keep it just a 2-0 ball game at that point. The bullpen did not do its job. Jordan Montgomery, who was thought to be maybe just some kind of help, has looked like the opposite of help. He pitches 2 innings in this one, allows 6 hits and 4 earned runs against this Angels squad. Cole Winn comes in mop-up relief later and allows 3 hits, but only works around it and gives up just 1 run. Ben Peoples was good enough in his 1 shutout inning. Peyton Gray kept it close in that 3rd inning, a perfect 1-2-3 inning with a couple of strikeouts. Tyler Alexander comes in with a 1-2-3 inning in the 8th. And it didn't really matter at that point because the Rangers were so far out of it, because this offense was just so darn bad. They have been miserable. And when your starting rotation goes down with 2 injuries to your best 2 guys, that's when the offense needs to step up most. That's when your offense needs to, pour on some runs. And I know Walber Arena, he's a good starting pitcher. There is no bits and buts about it. He has been very good. He's throwing 100 miles an hour, and he had some kind of an idea where that was going, and he's a good starting pitcher. But still, this bullpen has been gettable, and the Rangers did nothing to get to it. They did absolutely nothing to get to it, and they did nothing to ratchet up that pitch count by Urania. This was just bad offense time and time again. It is just infuriating and exhausting to watch this offense that you see your ace go down. You think that triggers you to go, okay, we need to pick it up. We need to pick this guy up because he's picked us up all of 2025. But except for against the Angels, this is just apparently Jacob deGrom's bugaboo is he cannot win in Anaheim. He cannot even look good against a terrible, terrible Angel squad. He has an ERA north of 7 for his career against the Angels. That's not good. That's really not good. But it has just been incredibly, incredibly frustrating to watch this team just completely fart away what has been probably the best chance to make a postseason in these last 3 years. They had a chance in 2025. They blew it. They could not do it. The offense was just too bad for the vast majority of that season to be able to make up for it. Even those scrappy little rascal Rangers, they did their best to make it interesting in late August and early September, but they could not quite get the job done. Corey Seager's appendectomy and all kinds of other things just took that season off the rails in 2024. World Series hangover, fine. But this was the year with the absolutely miserable American League and truly abysmal American League West, where every team has a negative run differential in the entire division. Every single team in this division has a negative run differential. The best run differential of anybody in this division is the 8 games below 500 Mariners at -26. The Astros lead the division at -27. Still with an above 500 record. The Rangers now 2 games below 500, half a game out of a playoff spot against the Tigers, who have the season tiebreaker against you. And the Rangers have a -41 run differential. It has been bad. It has been atrocious. And this is about as bad a week as you could possibly have. Now, hoping that Jacob deGrom doesn't have to miss his next start. He can just jump back into this rotation against the Nationals next week, but I am not counting on much of anything. He's a 38-year-old, and it's an arm injury. That fact alone should scare you. But at least the Rangers did get some good news last night, not on the Major League Diamond, but on the minor league diamond. Jack Leiter pitching for AAA Round Rock and throwing a lot more pitches than I expected in his first rehab outing. He's been dealing with an ankle injury. He had surgery at the end of June. The expectation, the hope was for at some point in August, he might come back. But there was a lot of questions about whether that would look like him in the rotation or it would look like him in the bullpen as just a multi-inning reliever that could just dial it back and gas it up there up to 100 miles an hour, which we have seen at times even as a starter. And I thought, okay, that makes the most sense, especially when Nathan Eovaldi was still not on the injured list, when Jacob deGrom was pitching through this hip and glute injury, but not having to deal with a tricep injury. That's scary. That is a scary, scary thing for a 38-year-old pitcher who has been the linchpin in your rotation in 2025, as well as Nathan Eovaldi, as well as at times Tyler Mahle, who, by the way, has looked kind of awesome for the Braves since they traded for him at the deadline after looking terrible with the Giants for the first half of this season. But the Rangers probably need Jack Leiter in this rotation. I don't know if he would push out Kyle Quantrill or he would push out maybe he would push out Kumar Rocker, but last night in Round Rock, he looked awesome against the Sugar Land Space Cowboys, the Astros affiliate. He threw 2 2/3 innings, wasn't quite able to get through 3. I think he might have been able to go out there for a 4th inning, but a couple of high pitch counts in those last few batters that he faced really ran up that pitch count, allowed 1 walk, 1 double, both of those coming in the 3rd inning. He had 3 strikeouts, and the fastball looked really darn good. He threw all of his pitches outside of the sinker, 48 pitches last night in those 2 2/3 innings, mostly the four-seam fastball, but threw 12 changeups, threw a couple of cutters, got the swing and a miss on that, a strikeout on that one, 2 swings and misses, or 2 strikeouts swinging on that four-seam fastball. That was a good thing. Even threw 4 curveballs, 3 sliders. The only pitch that he didn't throw was that sinker, but still he looked really darn good. He looked pretty sharp. The velocity was about what it was during the regular season, averaging 96.9 versus during the regular season, he was at 96.7. So even, 2/10 of a tick up from where he was averaging, and the velocity was pretty much the same throughout the start. I mean, averaging 97.5 in the first inning, 96.5 in the second and the 3rd inning, still looking pretty darn good. That is an encouraging sign. Him already being at 48 pitches is an encouraging sign. I would assume next time out there, he would build up to maybe 60 was probably my guess, maybe 65 if you're feeling aggressive. Then after that, it's like 75 or 80 pitches. And at that point, you're basically built up. So I think probably 2 more rehab starts at minimum. I don't think 3 will be necessary, but that's another 2 weeks. So that puts him back towards the end of August. If you want to fully build him up, he's eligible to return off the 60-day IL, I believe, on the 20th. So either way, he's going to need probably another rehab outing, unless the Rangers just want to go ahead and activate him now and kind of do those rehab outings at the major league level to kind of build him back up. That is something that could make sense if they need to put Jacob deGrom on the 15-day IL and they just need some arm to get back there. That could be the move for this Ranger squad. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm hoping that could kind of be the case. Now, the other thing I want to mention from this minor league game in AAA was Jack Leiter was very good, but he was not the most impressive pitcher in that game last night. That goes to Emiliano Teodo, who looked fantastic in that game for AAA Roundup, pitching the final 2 innings of, unfortunately, a loss. Not a great start by Dalton Pence, or I guess primary outing by Dalton Pence. He was the kind of piggyback starter off of Jack Leiter, went 3 innings, allowed 2 runs, 3 hits, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. But Emiliano Teodo, in the final 2 innings of this game that the Rangers, or the Round Rock Express were losing, he pitched 2 innings, allowed just 1 base runner. It was a walk, but he struck out every single other batter that he faced. 7 batters he faced, he walked 1, and he struck out 6. That is dominance. And in this month of August, he has been significantly better. Granted, it's only 4 appearances, but he has looked significantly better in this month of August. He has not allowed a single earned run. In those 4 appearances, he has gone 6 2/3 innings. He has struck out 12 and walked just 3. He has gone multiple innings in all but 1 appearance. He has gone 1 2/3 innings of shutout ball with 3 strikeouts, 1 walk, 1 hit. The 1st of August, on the 5th, he went 2 innings, 1 hit, no walks, 3 strikeouts. On the 9th, he went 1 inning, 1 walk, no strikeouts. And then this 6 batters struck out of the 7 that he faced. That is straight up dominance. And with the Rangers looking like they are about to just straight up dump Cole Winn off this roster, and Teodo's already on the 40-man roster, I would not be surprised for that to be a move just to kind of see if he's got something. It's been just a couple weeks at this point into the month of August, but it's something to keep an eye on. It was a great performance by Teodo that deserves a shout out, but it's good to see Jack Leiter building back up and maybe rejoining this rotation sooner as opposed to later. But by the time he gets back, who knows if this team will even be in it. That's going to do it for this week's shows. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, find some way to enjoy baseball.